Hello there and welcome to my little arty corner here on YouTube. My name's Angela Porter and amongst other things I'm an artist and I love pattern and motifs and stylised art, and seems I've been inspired by medieval manuscripts, arts and crafts movement, Art Nouveau and architecture and prehistoric art and all kinds of things, nature. Lots of things going on in my head quite often. But today, the one thing on my head, other than I've got to get some work done later, is Halloween. And what I did, sorry, excuse me for grabbing things. Organisation is not my best thing. But what I've done is I've got some pieces of 4.5 inch by 4.5 inch, or just over 11 centimetres by 11 centimetres pieces of all media paper from a sketchbook, and I have coloured them with distress inks. I like this one, it's very grungy. This one's very soft and subtle. This one I coloured with makeup brushes like this, using distress ink on the bristles obviously and doing it so you get a much smoother effect. But it's Halloween, so grungy. This one. And there's this one that I started with. I've used various purples, pinks, oranges, and I did use a yellowy colour in one. And you can see the difference in the cut and dry foam, which I used for the others. Picks up the texture in the paper and imperfections and places where the ink settles in a not so good way. And I think I'm going to use this particular one. Yeah, you might notice, look. I've left a gap there, I've drawn little white stars because it's Halloween. And I thought, okay, let's see if I can use this to help me stay in frame in some way, shape or form. I'm not going to say it's going to work, but we can hope, can't we? So, Halloween theme. So before I start that, can I just say thank you to everybody who's subscribed, who's given thumbs up to my videos, who's left lovely comments and helpful comments and advice comments and all sorts. I really do appreciate this very, very much. And just thank you. And thank you for all your support through Inktober. You know, concentrating on tangle patterns through Inktober because I did the Inktober Tangle Pattern Challenge. So things will settle into a different kind of rhythm, a different kind of focus going forward. I'm sure I'm bound to use tangle patterns because patterns are my thing. They always have been. But we shall see where we shall go. So as you know, if you know me, I've said this before, I absolutely love Halloween. Oh, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Costs you nothing. Just says that you like what I'm doing and you want to follow my work. And that will do me quite nicely. Thank you very much. Okay, so pumpkins. Now, I've got choices here. I could draw traditional kind of whimsical pumpkin, which I'm quite tempted to do. But there's also the Tangle Pattern Gorgeous, which is also a possibility here. I'm going to go with a traditional kind of pumpkin, but I'm not going to draw a face on it or anything like that. We're just going to create a pumpkin. So I start at the centre and I draw some kind of rounded shape. Sort of ovalish. This one is actually narrower at the top, so I'm going to work with that as I build my pumpkin. So I'll put lobes on either side, keeping them fairly narrow at the top, but going around the sides. Now these ones are beginning to become not quite so visible. And then before I go any further here, I'm going to put a stem on, like so, and then I'm just going to put some little lobes behind it, and that will do me for now for a pumpkin. Well, if you have one pumpkin, you've got to have more than one as far as I'm concerned, so I'm going to draw another one next door. This one's going to be chubby, as in very cute and cuddly. And again, don't know if you notice, I'm starting to move the tops of these lobes higher up and closer towards the centre as I go around, because that gives me that dip there, which is perfect for adding our stem in, and then the last couple of the pumpkin lobes behind there. And perhaps we could get one more in here, and I think this one might be a bit more like a gourd shape, but you know, pumpkins are gourds. And I did draw a border around here to guide me as to where I want, you know, to leave some space around if I decide to add a border or something else. But I'm not going to adhere to it strictly. There, that'll do for that one. I'm just going to leave it like this. Now then, something that makes something quite Halloween-y for me. I have a thing about tentacles in drawings. You know, if you think of something like A Nightmare Before Christmas, which I must watch today, and all of Tim Burton's stuff, you know, all of these wonderful black and white and other tentacles, and I just think they just go so well. So I'm going to have some here. That are coming out from behind the pumpkins, because, you know, I don't want, you know, some mystery here. Where are these tentacles coming from? What are they growing out of? What are the pumpkins hiding from us? Is there a hole behind them? A deep, dark chasm into somewhere? The answer is, I don't know, but what I do know is these tentacles are appearing from somewhere. It also reminds me of children's cartoon series, or cartoon, it was stop motion. Now, it was around after I was a child, but a very good friend of mine told me about it. I got the DVD, and it's called Through the Trapdoor. It uses all plasticine figures, and the trapdoor is in the bottom of this castle, and there's all kinds of monsters and creatures come out of there, including, you often see tentacles coming out and pulling the trapdoor shut or trying to come out into the castle. And Burke has to sort all of this out, and Burke's sort of like one of the main characters, along with Boney, who is a skull, and various other things. Little Dret, who's this thing that pops along and makes little farting noises and what have you. And it's absolutely hilarious. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it is. Makes me giggle, makes me smile. And the narrator is a wonderful British sort of comedian actor called Willie Rushton, who I believe has passed on. But if I'm wrong about that, I'm wrong about that, because, you know. But this sort of like subtle kind of sarcastic, you know, gentle humour, and there's humour in there that adults get, which, as far as I'm concerned, makes the best kids' programmes of all. Because the kids get the humour on one level and the adults take it to a completely different level. So a bit of something for everyone. So this one may be my last tentacle, and I am putting some lines on these just to fill that space in. In this space here, it's Halloween, so we're going to have something in there. And I think it's going to be an eyeball, because what else? Halloween is the only sort of like holiday, as it were, celebration, probably apart from winter solstice, which has no negative associations or triggering events with me from my past. And I absolutely love Halloween. There's no two doubts about it. I love the energy. I love the sense of fun. Not too keen on the trick and treat thing. But then I'm British. So I don't dress up. Don't go to parties. Too many people. but I really enjoy the energy and the atmosphere of the time. So any excuse I have to relive this whimsical and cute spookiness, I will. I'm just going to add one more. And I'm using, for those who like to know what pens I'm using, the bigger one is a 0.4 Sakura Pigma Sensei pen. It's got a plastic nib on it, so it's harder for me to wreck. And this one is a Unipin pen, and it's a 0.3, so it's slightly finer. Okay, so we have tentacles. We can't have tentacles and eyeballs without some kind of skull. So I'm going to draw a skull, and I'll do it step by step, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to fit a skull in here, bonehead. So I'm just drawing in kind of a circular pattern. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a squish skull. I've got a little gap there, so I'm just going to fill that with black. And then I'm going to pop the teeth in, coming out from the sides here. And for this one, I flared these teeth out just a little bit. And I'm not making them realistic. I mean, I could put tops on them, but I'm not. And then I'm going to put a jaw on of some kind. That'll do. Eyes. Oh, let's have some sad or mournful eyes, because this poor thing is upside down. Put that there. I'm going to pop some eyes in there, and actually I may just cap off the tops of these like so. The other thing I want to do, I've got a finer pen here. I'm just going to crack the skull and the jaw, because I can. And that'll do. So that's one bonehead. Okay, if you've got one, you have to have at least one more. I like them. I don't know how and why I do. But here's my next one, and I'm going to start in the middle of the teeth and draw two on either side. I'll put the jaw in, which is mostly hidden behind the pumpkins here. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is I think I will colour these in. So if I was going to add colour digitally, I would actually just put the black dot in, and then I fill the background with colour and glow to make the eyes look like they're glowing. But here I think I'll do this. I'll come back with a white pen to add the highlight in. And this one's going to be wearing a party hat, but he's going to have it at a very jaunty angle, as if it's falling off his head. Put some stripes in. And then on the top, I think I'll give this one a star. Like so. So, drunken party hats. This one's lost his hat. But, you know, let's pop it onto a eyeball, because who knows, perhaps eyeballs like to wear drunken party hats at Halloween too. A friend of mine nicknamed my skulls drunken party skulls. I said, thank you very much. No? As one does. Okay. And one more, I think, just to complete this. So I'm going to draw this one, hiding behind here. Like so. Drunken party skulls. And this one is, perhaps this one will balance his hat here. So I'm still going to make it look like we've got stripes on this. And then the inside I'm just going to create black so it looks like that. There we are. He's lost his because he's upside down and whatever. Okay, so drunken party skulls, tentacles and pumpkins. What I really would love here is a potion bottle. And so I'm going to draw one that sits behind this pumpkin, making it kind of teardrop shaped. Okay, then inside I'm going to pop some liquid. So to do that, I draw an oval somewhere here, anywhere, just go close to the sides but not quite, and then we can draw the liquid like so. And it looks then like it's inside the glass. We've got the glass around the outside. Okay, so I want something on the top. And I think I might go for a pair of bat wings. So, curved line, another curved line, and I am going to double up on this, but I'm going to bring it to a point up here. And then I'm going to draw the other parts of the bat wing, like so. Like so. Strictly speaking, if it was a real bat, it would have 4 fingers, but I can fit 3 in comfortably. And then I'm just going to connect them from point to point with arches like that to suggest the wing. And then I'm going to draw one on the other side, which may or may not fit in here. I suspect I'm going to finagle it so it does kind of fit in. That'll do. Don't have to have them symmetrical. This one could be sort of like going off at a different angle, which is fine by me. So we've got some bat wings, which are always good fun. And the other thing I would like, so I haven't done any mushrooms here, and I love a mushroom at Halloween, but perhaps I can put some other spooky bottles in here or spooky containers. And I'm going to have them so they disappear down behind the skulls and pumpkins and tentacles where we don't have to follow the line on particularly. This one, I think this one is going to have a mushroom on the top. Like so. So I drew its stem, put a curve over the top, and then I've brought the curve back behind it, as if we've got the mushroom cap there. Just a bit of a border there. I've missed on that side, it'll be fine. I'm going to put the gills in with a finer pen, and I'm also going to use a finer pen. So we want mushroom gills underneath. And I'm going to use the finer pen to put the dots in to turn it into a toadstool. It's a bit of a wonky bottle, but who says they have to be perfect? And we'll pop the liquid or whatever else it is in here. That's okay, and down here that'll be okay. And I think I might just put the bottom here, have the bottom distinctly there, and that will help me fill that space in. And perhaps a third one. If you ever did chemistry in school, you may recognise this. So this one can go here, and it can come round here and just go back underneath here. So let's have a kind of flask shape. Usually it'd have a taller neck, but I didn't leave enough headroom for this. And I'm going to put a stopper in here. I'm going to put a little dome on it. And perhaps on the top, I'm just going to put a little crescent moon because I've run out of space. Forgot I was going to work up to a border here. This can come around there, around here, like so. We've got a really thick base here, which is a good thing when it comes to potions and chemicals. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to pop on my little Halloween picture here, some stars, because nothing's complete without stars. I have at least one in most of my pictures somehow. Well, when it comes to whimsical stuff and Halloween and colouring pages, I try to get stars and hearts and things in. Cute and whimsical is me. So I've got plenty of stars here spilling out of my border, my edge, and I am going to pop that border in. I drew it so it's going back in, and I don't mind if my lines are wibbly and wonky, because that is part of the feeling I want to go with this. It's going to be interesting tracing these lines round because some of them are quite faint. But I quite like how things like this picture spill out. Of that boundary. There we go. So we've got that going on there. Okay, we've got this here which looks a bit odd without anything supporting it. So I'm going to pop a spiral here and perhaps another one can go here. I'm going to fill that little space in with black, and I'm going to fill some of these spaces in with black at the bottom, which really does help to give a ground for these. I'm going to leave that one as it is for a moment. And then I think I might just want to go up here and add a spiral there. So it feels that this little flask has got something to support it. You know, this one has got the tentacles, on the other side it's got those spirally planty things. Okay, let's have a look. How are we doing? Just touching up here and there. A little bit of black needed there. Okay. So I'm adding some little circles here as if there's bubbles coming out of that heart party hat, which is always possible. You know, it's an Angela drawing. It's from my imagination. I haven't put any labels on my potion bottles, so let's put some labels on. Normally I'd like my labels to go round the sides of the container, but today I forgot to put them in first, so that's fine. And here perhaps we can have one that goes just like so. And perhaps this one I'll leave it as, so I'll leave it. I think I'll make one like some embellishment there. And perhaps this one can have a bit of an embellishment around its neck too. This one definitely can. There we go. So that's my drawing so far. Put that pen away. I do want to add some cracks to my little skulls, my other skulls. So I'm consistent. Okay. I'm going to change to an 01 pen because I want to add some shadow and highlight in my own way here. So I'm going to add fine lines with dots in just to add ink where I want some shadow. Along those there. I'm not going to do the bottles per se. The party hats, I'm going to put some on the left hand side, perhaps a little bit on the right. Said before that by adding more ink, it adds that feeling of shadow, and you curve the lines to fit the shape or the surface, as if your finger's moving over them. It really does create that kind of feeling of volume. Right. For my pumpkins, I'm going to draw some broken lines where I sort of connect the breaks with dots, as it were, in where the creases of the pumpkin would be. And that instantly starts to add that feeling that these have got some kind of shape and form. We're not just drawing the plain shapes here. And I do need to draw some just on the back there and here as well. And I'm going to do the same on this one. So that's quite fun. Okay. The tentacles I'm going to leave because I want to use colour to bring them out. For the bat wings, I'm going to put just some lines where I'm flicking my pen so the lines fade away from the corner out. So it looks like these wings are kind of folded in those nooks and crannies there. This bottle here needs some shadows on it. So that'll be fine. So I'm not going to add any to those. The eyeballs will be okay because I think I'm going to fill them in with white anyway. And the last thing I want to do is I'm going to give one of these tentacles a bead, a string, another bead, and then I'm going to add a circle here, aura inside, and then inside I'm just going to pop my initials. So that's a bit of fun. Okay, that took me about half an hour to draw. Well, 28 minutes, but I talked for a bit, so about 25 minutes perhaps. I'm still having my morning mocha. So, let me get my Inktense pencils. Whoa. Got them. Got some water brushes. Oh yes. Okay, I want some, oh gosh, I've got loads of water brushes. I'm looking for a, yeah. Will I find the colour I am looking for? This is the question. Nope. Nope. Right, I'm going to have to turn all the ones that have got their points the right way up. If I'm using colours for a project, I tend to leave the ones I'm using with their points up, but it can make it difficult for me to spot colours that I want. So just bear with me a moment while I do this. And as I'm doing this, I'll just say thank you for sticking with me. I'm not going to get all of this coloured here and now, because it would take me just that little bit too long to do in its entirety. Do you want that one? It's cadmium orange again. I'm looking for burnt orange, which means I'm unlikely to find it when I'm looking for... No, there it is. It pops straight out. So I'm going to use burnt orange to begin with on my pumpkins, and I'm going to put colour at the top, the bottom, and to the side. Not so much around the side of these ones, because the shadow is going to be where that crease line is. And the same here. So the middle one, I'm putting shadow on both sides. With these ones, I'm putting the shadow in the crease line and to either side. Okay, let's have a look. There's water in it. Just going to get it working, hopefully. The lovely thing about distress inks is they will mix with this colour. But there's so surprisingly, even though the colour's quite intense, there's so little, they don't really cause an issue with this. And because I can move them, I can also create highlights. I can move those colours away where I want them lighter. So here I'm working from the lightest area to the darkest to begin with, and then I can move that ink. Again, I'm just doing this one here, take some of that off. And I do want to wet the distress inks because otherwise it'll look a bit odd. Okay, to the sides I can just keep it darkest on the crease, but I do want more colour there. So that one's fun. Okay, let's have one that's a slightly different colour. Here I'm going to go with the sienna gold, which is my favourite golden colour in the Inktense range. I'm going to have to search out open stock so I can replace them eventually. It's a lovely rich yellow colour, and I think it will fit in quite nicely here. You can get all kinds of colours of pumpkins, can't you? And various gourds that look pumpkin-y. Got that. Oh, what I forgot to do on the stems here. So I'm just going to put some texture into the stems just to add that shadow, especially towards the base of them, which is where it would be in shadow. Okay, and one more colour. Let me have a look. I don't want scarlet pink. This one. I don't want a brown one. Don't really want Shiraz. No, I don't want poppy red. I'm looking for, let's go with a bright orange and see how that fares. If it's too bright, I can always tone it down. But it's also going to mix with this purpley colour here, which could create a bit of mud, but if it does, well, it does. That's all I'm going to say. It'll do what it does. I think it'll be fine though. Later on, once this is dried, if I want to, I can always come back with more colour. I could also have used alcohol markers to do this, because you can use those over the top of it, distress pencils as well. Okay, tentacles. I want some black. I've got ink black here. And I'm going to add the ink black along the edges of alternating alternating sections on each tentacle. I'm choosing here to do mainly the narrower ones, but I could have chosen to do the bigger ones as well. So I'm going to use blackened colours for all of these rather than white, because I'm not quite sure how I'd manage to get white on these, but I think I could. But not too worried. I'm going to use white pen, gel pen or similar, to add highlights. So we'll see how it goes. So same idea is I just pick up enough colour from the black to fill the central part, but I want the darkest colour around the edge. And I'm not worried if I get some grey there. In fact, I want some grey in the middle because I can put the highlight on that, but I don't want it all very dark black. And I can adjust. If I need more black later on, I can add more. So I'll do all of these very quickly. Smaller spaces, I'm not going to worry too much about the space in between the areas of black. I just know that I will want that little bit lighter there. And as I've said, I'm coming back with a white gel pen. So Halloween, as I do this, in my family home was actually one of those celebrations or get-togethers or whatever it was where there never seemed to be too many arguments or upsets and so on. It was, you know. So my older sister, who's 10 years older than me, used to orchestrate it when we got older. And there were the usual things like ducking apples and bobbing apples and various other games. But it was really her who brought in some aspects of this family get-together, as it were. And one of them was a tradition called Captain Blood's cake. And we'd, you know, me and her, because I was old enough by this time, were the ones who would get together and we'd bake the cake and decorate it. And it was just a basic Victoria sandwich, a basic sponge cake with, you know, cream and, or, you know, buttercream and jam in the middle. But we'd ice it with sort of like a really venomous looking green icing. Oh, no, it wasn't venomous green icing. It was blood red and dripping down the outside edge. And a big candle was put in the middle. And before we ate it, it would be the case that we'd all sit round the table and we'd start a story off where we would talk about, you know, Captain Blood, the legend of Captain Blood. And we had to you know, one person would add part of the story and then pass it on to the next and the next. And of course, with each person who got to tell the story, you'd have to get more and more inventive and try not to kill Captain Blood off quite until really the poor chap had no option but to die, and then his ghost would come back and you'd have to tell stories about his ghost and things like that. And it used to be really funny because, you know, some of the things that you come up with were really ridiculous because it was more about using imagination rather than scaring each other, which was a good thing, and often it was hilarious. And there were other games we'd play, like picture consequences and things like that. But it was after Captain Blood had died and everything had been completed with that part of the evening, the cake would be eaten. And the fun would continue because we'd carry on playing games of different kinds. So that's one thing about my family, is that they did enjoy playing board games and card games and so on. And music was always a big thing, so there was always some kind of fun going on like that. And unusually at Halloween there was very little animosity. Other times of the year it could be unpleasant, but you know, that's my perspective. They'll tell you something else because they'll be talking from their perspective. So I filled these little twiddly bits in and the tops of the pumpkins with light olive. Now then, for the eyeballs, I'm going to do them in green. And there's a very good reason why, but I'm not going to share that with you. And I'm looking for the right kind of green. Felt green will do nicely, I think. I'm not a fan of horror. To be honest with you, horror stories, horror films just bore me. Which is a weird thing to say, but they really do. Here we are, green eyeballs. Is there anything else that I want green? I think so. I think I'll have this here as a greenish potion. It's not green. So I'm putting some of the darker green to the sides, but I did just see sherbet lemon, which is a greeny lemon. Yeah, that'll do for the middle or for some areas because it'll give a nice bright highlight here. And although it looks like I've got a lot of purple in the background here, I think I'll be okay because these, as I say, the Distress ink colours tend to disappear and mix in. The Inktense colours are much stronger. I'm getting some weird colour going on here, but it's a magic potion. What do you expect? To expect them to be all appealing and pretty. Well, they could be, but so never really. It's sort of like horror films and scary stories and things. Never really interested me, and so sort of like Halloween naturally becomes this whimsical, fun kind of thing because that is how I feel this energy needs to be, or how it is, and I really does. Got crimson here, so I can have some bat blood here perhaps. So I think the crimson would do it, possibly. So let's have a look. So something that makes me smile and makes me giggle is always welcome at any time of year. But there's something about turning Halloween, which is, you know, supposed to be pretty scary, a chance for people to face their fears and to confront them and learn how to deal with them, into something that I find hilarious, or at least smiley and uplifting. So I can't but help it. And this will be, well, I say my last chance for Halloween. I will draw drunken party skulls at any opportunity I have, and mushrooms and pumpkins and tentacles, because they make me smile. And it's all in a very, as I say, quite cartoony kind of way. I think it was 3 years ago now, which surprised me. Today's the last day of Inktober, and I will show you my sketchbook in another video, my current sketchbook, which is will be a bit of a ramshackle ride. A bit disorganised it is in its way, but we'll be fine. But, you know, on Facebook, you get sort of a memory from so many years ago. And this week, a couple of them have cropped up. I think it's from 3 years ago when for Inktober, I chose to do the skull and mushroom Inktober challenges that I'd found on Facebook. Not Facebook, Instagram, actually. Oh. And so these were drawings of skulls that were very illustrative, very, you know, quite realistic more than anything else. And I thought, blimey, I forgot I did that. In complete contrast to these. But this seems to be my default setting. I really enjoyed drawing the skulls. I really did. And I put mandalas behind them that I drew digitally. Well, I did all the work digitally. I used sketches and inked them in digitally and put mandalas behind a lot of them. Or some other kind of imagery as I felt fit, or saw fit to do that. And that was fun. But last year, perhaps it wasn't last year, so perhaps it was 2 years ago, I did the Inktober Tangles challenge, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I had so much fun exploring different patterns. And of course that then has a knock-on effect, and it's the knock-on effect is that you get, what's the word I'm looking for? More creative. It opens up your imagination and challenges you. Well, how many different things can I do here? And that was a lot of fun, as I've said, which is why I chose to do it again this year. Next year, I don't know what I'm going to do, to be honest. We'll see what happens in the coming year. But, I am likely to do things a little bit differently here. Maybe, we'll see. My style of drawing, my style of art, the way that I explain things or try to describe isn't going to change. But perhaps the content may a little bit. So I have focused on things of Zentangle nature, and I'm aware that I'm not a CZT and I could fall foul of the powers that be. But then I have lots of my own patterns and motifs to share and different things to do and all kinds of fun things to look at. Let me have a look. Got that burnt orange. I think I'll use the tangerine orange actually for a particular tentacle. This one I think here. I mean, having black and white one would be fun, but you know, that takes a lot of organisation or using some kind of opaque paint or white pen. So I think I'll just go crazy coloured and use the white for highlights. So if there's anything you particularly like to do, I say this quite often, then just leave a comment, or either on here, because I've got a lot of comments to get back on. My weekend's been bonkers in one way or another with various things. You can also contact me through any other social media that I have, and just say, do you think you could have a look at this? Or how would I draw this? Or, you know, and I think that's fine. And that'd be quite nice because it's, you know, that was a different kind of colour. Cool, blimey, wasn't it just? This one, I've got spring green here. Actually, I was looking for an apple green. There we go. That's the one I want, I think. I'm going to put lots of the green in here because it will mix with that colour unpleasantly, and I need the green to overpower it. Inktense does that. It's very good. I do enjoy Inktense pencils muchly. So there we go. So we've got all the tentacles done. Now I am going to try something because I have got Inktense do white pencils. So I am going to use white on my eyeballs. There's a third one here somewhere. here. And it comes, you know, it's nice without adding water, but I'm going to add water because it fixes the white then. And just by using water, I remove this, some of the distress ink, so hopefully the white will stand out. Once it's dried, I will come back and do another coating. And we'll see what that looks like. It's hard to tell when it's wet. My skulls, oh, I'm on a hiding to nothing with them, aren't I? I will put some shadow in though. Where was that Payne's Grey? I had that here not long ago. I can't find it now. Always the same, Indian ink, Payne's Grey. So I'm going to put some shadows onto one side. Payne's Grey is a blue-grey colour that is useful for things like this. So just around the outside edge, I'm going to activate this and just move it outwards just that little bit, just to give that hint of shadow there. And then what I might do, because I'm getting lines around the edges, is I'm just going to move this distress ink away towards the shadow areas where I can. And that should create a kind of highlight in the middle. These skulls are going to end up looking quite aged, which is fine by me, because, you know, they've been around for a while. They're cheeky so-and-sos. So if they're looking a bit on the aged and grubby side, I'm fine with that. Or perhaps they've just put some of their scully makeup on for Halloween, because that's always a possibility with these. As I say, drunken party skulls, what else are they going to do? So I'm just moving this where I can. And that one's, not a lot of the colour's going to shift there, but it'll be fine. Always fine. It is what it is, and I can't do anything more about it than that. So again, shadows. I'm not going to worry about the teeth for a moment. So part of me thinks, oh, perhaps I should give them all really sparkly white teeth, but that would look a bit daft and it would stand out just a bit too much. But I'll have a think about the teeth. There we go. So we've got some shadow around our skulls. Right then, what else? Okay, I've got this white Inktense here, and I'm going to see if I can pick up a lot of the white and use that just to fill this in. We might have an underlying colour, but perhaps they're pickled eyes. Like pickled onions. If you use white vinegar, they say it stays sort of white, but if you use brown vinegar, they go to a different colour. So perhaps these have been pickled in all kinds of things. I'm going to have to use a pen to bring some of this back. My ink. So I'm going over my ink, and this is really covering up the ink, but hopefully that will help. And the other place I want to put some of this white is in my little moon at the top. Perhaps I really need to get some gouache. That might work. Sorry, I'm moving off the centre again because I'm drifting everywhere. I'm trying to stay in one place. It doesn't always work. Okay, this at the top. Poppy red, because you've got to have a red mushroom, haven't you? Oh, excuse my stomach. The clocks in the UK went back overnight Saturday, so my body still thinks that, well, it's 20 past 10 here, Universal Time, Greenwich Mean Time. But it's still on British summertime, which is an hour ahead. So my body thinks it's like nearly 11:30 and it's nearly time for brunch. So it takes a while to get used to the change. And things like I woke up this morning and it was still dark when I woke, but it was light quite soon afterwards. And you think, oh, great. You know, it's such and such a time. You look at the clock and you realise, okay, I could have gone back to sleep for an hour or so. That's not going to happen. Okay, for these dots, normally they'd be white, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a yellow colour. This is sun yellow, so I'm not using a golden colour, I'm using a cooler yellow here. And this will mix with the purple and we might get a brownish colour, but I'll be fine with that. And I'm just moving some of that colour away from the top just to give a highlight there. And I'm using my brush to pick some of that colour up. And naturally, because I forgot to get some kitchen roll out, I am wiping it on the backs of my hands, which is fine because it will wash off. Oops. Oh yeah, I did do that one. I can see a bit of yellow there. There we go. That actually works quite nicely against the background. And I think I'd like to have a bit of a yellow moon. And I think putting the white down will help that yellow show up. There we go. That's fun. All right. Underneath here, I think I'm going to, I'll put a red band here, but I may come back with a darker red as well. That scarlet pink, no. Cherry will do it. Just to give this a different colour to the cap. Strictly speaking, I didn't need to do that. And then for the gills underneath, I'm going to use a little bit of this red violet, which is the same colour I used inside there. So it's sort of like, may have a hint of that colour. Just to go, oh, perhaps that is made from mushrooms. Whatever that is mushroomy. I'm going to use my sienna gold on here, around the label here, these bands here as well. I think there will be good. I think here will be good as well. And there. And this one, I want this feeling like a stopper rather than glass. Same here. So let's see how they get on very quickly. And it's going to be a bit of a mucky colour because this will react with the background, but I'm fine with that, to be honest. I keep saying that because I am. So let's just put some of that gold colour here. On this one, I'm actually, this party hat, I'm going to put this sherbet green on that star. It'll end up looking a bit more like a flower, maybe. I think I had some of the yellow left on there. That's fine, though. This one will really stand out because there's not much in the way of distress ink on there. So that'll be fun. Okay, where's my black? It's my ink black. Because I am going to give my skulls black and white striped hats. Oh, I say black and white, it's going to be black and coloured striped hats. So I'm alternating where the stripes are. Oh, and of course we've got an eyeball that's got a stripy hat as well, party hat. One thing I don't like about Halloween, or at any time of year, it's not just Halloween, I don't like people in masks. I don't like not being able to see somebody's face, and I've got no idea why it freaks me out so much. There's a memory somewhere that's lurking somewhere deep in my head that I just don't know what it is. I say deep in my memory, it's been hidden, so something going back in time. But I really don't like it. I don't like clowns for the same reason. That I don't know. You know, clowns just look two-faced to me. They really do. And I mean, the clown may be themselves, perfectly genuine and lovely, kind person, but there is just something there. It's the way that you can see the smiley face and perhaps a sad one underneath, or vice versa. And you're just thinking, I don't know what you're thinking, what you're doing, what you're saying, you're confusing me. And I think that has, you know, it's probably quite a common thing, to be honest, with people. Colorophobia, fear of clowns. I wouldn't say I run off screaming and so on, but I get very uncomfortable. So, you know, it is what it is. This is how we are. We're all built, you know, differently. But that is not an excuse for people to try to freak me out with clowns. Thank you very much. Somebody's bound to. Or maybe not. I don't think pictures don't scare me. It's the actual physical presence of people. So, okay, we're getting close to me having done as much as I'm going to do here. For the shadow on this pumpkin, I'm going to use the red violet because I think it might make some kind of sense here. Again, I'm just going to move the distress ink away so that becomes a bit brighter. Okay, party hats. Let's go for orange on this one, or a bright golden yellow anyway. On another one, I'm going to put some purple. Find my purple. There's my purple. Because purple would be fun there. I don't know what colour I've picked up there, but it doesn't look purple. It'll be fine. Not quite sure what's going on. There, I could have put green, but I don't want to, so I'm going to use the purple on this one as well because it will stand out against the background. So let's have a look and see if that will come. Yeah, that's purple. I don't know why that one isn't. So we shall pick the purple up with the brush and pop the purple in. Like so. And just around here, I'm going to put a rim of purple here. Just to add the shadows. Okay. Bat wings. Now bat wings are usually black, but I'm going to make mine purple from these parts anyway. So I've put a lot of purple in the darkest area, and I'm going to pick some up right from the edge and move it down just to add some colour right the way through these sections where the skin would be stretched over the bones. Because bat wings are actually hands. Bats are mammals. And they have, you know, they have legs, hands, feet and hands. But the bones have grown very long and thin, and the skin is stretched too between them, you know, extended into this webbed shape like wings. They're flying mice, really. I do like bats. There's bats living in a wood not far from where I live, and in the summer I can sit in my window and watch them. Well, I used to be able to when we had much more street lights at twilight. You could see them flitting up and down the street, and when I was younger I could hear them. Can't hear them now. Age doesn't come by itself. And I mean that, it really doesn't come by itself. I'm looking for my black, because I am going to put some black on these, but just at the tips here, and I'm going to move the black down towards the point, so we're getting that dark colour here as well. Again, I will add some highlights. For my stars, I'm going to get my metallic paints out, because I just think that some metallics will look really nice there, some sparkle. Okay, I was going to do something, wasn't I? What was I going to do? I'm going to leave the bottles as they are, except I may use my, let's do that very quickly. I'm just going to use water just to remove some of the colour, or move it down and out the way. Some of this distress ink has really grabbed onto the paper, which is fine. It's what it is. So I am just moving the colour as much as I can away to give me a lighter area, so it looks like the bottles. Again, I'm just wiping my brush off on my hand, because that's fine as far as I'm concerned. It's not going to poison me. Well, I hope not. I wouldn't. Just don't eat it. And I've got no intention of trying out distress ink to see what it tastes like, that's for sure. So these bottles, or the bottles now, are that little bit lighter, which is a nice thing. Okay, so before I do anything else, let me get my pen, and I am going to go round these eyeballs and just bring that black line out again. So I've made a bit of a mess with my maybe other places where I'll need to go around with the black pen where the colour's gone over, because Inktense, if you use a lot of the colour, it will colour over the black, as it were. And as soon as you start doing this, you end up doing everything, but I'm not going to. Only places where I need to do it, where it's important. That's fine. Okay, that will do for now. Okay, next job. Inktense pencils away. How am I doing? Oh gosh. Oh, there we go. Pencil sharpener out the way. Next job. These, my metallic paints, and I have got for my stars. I say for my stars because I want, coming out of this party popper here, not party popper, oh sorry, the drunken party skull, all those little dots, I'm going to use, oh gosh, that's a lot of water, didn't want that much. Okay, get an ordinary brush here, because I pressed my Inktense, the water brush just a little bit too much, so I can use this. Actually, that's really nice. So I'm going to add some of this orange into these little dots here. So we've got that looking like it's scattering out of the little hat there. So that'll be fine. Got any water? Yes, I have. It's a bit scuzzy, but it'll do just to rinse that off. Need to change that. And then I do want some, I want some white, and I want some, I think I want white. So I'm just putting some water onto the white one here. I'm just picking that up. Make it quite thick. I say quite thick, it's not going to be thick at all. Pop it in there, because I don't want too much on my brush. But I think I might just add some to my eyeballs. I just think they could do with sparkling just that little bit. And that white sparkle will help to lighten that colour, I think. I could be wrong. Perhaps just do one and see what it looks like when it's dried. Okay, my stars are going to be white for this. So I do need this quite a bit thicker actually, because I want quite a lot of the colour going in. I may not get this exactly the right shape as my stars, because I'm rushing now, but it'll pick up the colour from underneath and that will show through, but the sparkle, hopefully, when it catches the light, will give it that nice kind of reflection that we're looking for. Okay, so nearly done. So I could have used a gel pen for this, but that would mean hunting for the ones I want, and I'm not in the mood for a gel pen hunt today. So we've got that. How does my sparkly eyeballs sparkly? I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see it catch the light because I've got bright sunlight streaming in now. Do I want to do that to the other eyeballs? I think so. I think that will look quite cute. Again, I'm going to have to go over the black again in places just to get the black to show up. But I think I'll be fine with that. Be okay. And then what I'm going to do as well, I am going to, hopefully, I'm filling my paints with some of that metallic, white metallic paint, and I am just flicking on. Could do with a bit more water. There we go. A bit more of that. I'll just leave that to dry because that will put little sparkles on here like little magic dust, which will be fine. So my brush damp, that needs to go out the way so it can dry. I am now done with the water brushes, so they can go out the way. Put those in there. And the last thing I need is a white gel pen. So now the question is, where is the white? Is that the white? That's a glaze, that's a white gel pen. I've got the Uni Posca as well. I think the Posca pen will be better, because look at that, I've got all sparkles now on my background here. And this doesn't take long to dry, but it just gives those little sparkly bits that catch the light from different angles. Most probably too many, but I'm fine, you know, hey ho. It's Halloween. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to dot on some white highlights on my pumpkins where I want the lightest areas to be. And spread the dots out a little bit so they're not concentrated in one area. And here as well, so my lightest area would most probably be there somewhere. Here it would be along there, a couple there, down the side of my stems perhaps, like so. Tentacles in the middle. Where the band's wider, you just put more dots in, wider band. Let's go here. The Posca pens are nice because they don't pick up the colour so much from underneath, whereas the Sakura jelly rolls do, or seem to. So let's have a look here. It really doesn't take long, so I will finish this with you. So, okay. What else did I want to do? Oh, I was going to put the white dots in my eyeballs, the highlights there. I want to put white dots in my skeletons, my skulls, like so. I'm going to put some highlights on these dots towards the top and right, and just perhaps a few dots on the cap itself and down the side here of the mushroom. Same with the lid here, we'll have some highlights towards this side, and the same with the glass actually. Put a string of them down there. So I'm going to do the same on this one, so that will work. Drunken party hats, same idea, towards the middle of the bands and perhaps coming back towards the middle. This one the same. And this one. Just put some in these here. That may actually do for this almost. I am going to pop some tiny little ones on the fingers of my bat wings, like so. And I think may call this mostly done. Just throw some white dots around here and there. As if we've got stardust as I put my hand in a pile. Genius, Angela. Honestly, I kid you not. My skulls are going to stay as they are, looking bony. My eyeballs are going to stay as they are, looking the way they are. And I'm just going to look at these stars, and the very last thing I want to do is just to ink around them, just to tidy the edges up. Won't take long to do. I think everything else then is fine. Quite happy with the splatters where they've landed. They are what they are, so if they land over a black line, and I'm not going to go back and ink that in. And some of these splatters have actually created like water drops as well, like water damage to the, not water damage, but it's like drops of water have spilt on the distress ink and they've bleached out the colour just a little bit and given a dark ring around the outside. So that's quite nice. And this may be an example of why I really should not do anything at all with colour. So there we are. I just flex that. One Halloween-y image. Let me close my curtain because then the sunlight won't bleach things out. I'm just going to change the mode of my light so we get a better idea of the colour. Did I actually put the light on here? No. There we go. So I'm just going to say happy Halloween to you all. And I hope you enjoyed this and you can take some wisdom from it, or ideas, or have a go at drawing this yourself, or think that I'm looking at it and thinking, what was I thinking with all these white dots? I've got no idea. But I'm going to say thank you so much for joining me. No matter how you're celebrating Halloween, whether you celebrate or not, whether you're going out and about or not, please have a good day and find time to be creative. Bye-bye for now.